Hi, everybody. Welcome back to The Angle, Perspectives of Toronto Real Estate with our special guest, Rakhee Dinga from Mortgage Savvy, founder and CEO of Mortgage Savvy. Thank you so much for joining us today. Appreciate
And
it.
it's a pleasure, and thank you for having me here today.
Always, always. So let's just dive right in. I know the question that is on everybody's mind right now. Rakhee, should I secure a pre-approval now, or should I wait for rates to come down based on everything that we're seeing and hearing, I guess, in the industry?
And as we engage with buyers or individuals looking to potentially purchase a home in this market, that's the one question that I find that is raised with potential buyers. And my response to that question is absolutely. I use the analogy, it's like going shopping without knowing what's available to you on a credit card.
Hmm.
We need to have clarity on where you're able to potentially secure a mortgage in the current interest rate environment. The future is uncertain, and yes, we're in a declining rate environment, but having clarity on what you can qualify for today, but also having a conversation on affordability. What are you comfortable carrying on a monthly basis? And that doesn't necessarily always match where the qualification sits. So there's so much more involved in the process of securing a pre-approval. It requires an element of budgeting, an element of assessing your personal financial obligations, where you'd be comfortable purchasing up to, and where you could potentially qualify for. And any really good broker is going to continue to revisit those numbers and provide you with those updates so that you're well aware. When we're qualifying for a pre-approval, it's based on current rates because we're applying the stress test. But as rates come down, that generally will give a buyer an added opportunity to revisit their qualification and potentially qualify for more.
Right.
But there's that added conversation. Are you comfortable carrying an additional sort of higher mortgage payment? So, yes, absolutely. It's important to understand where your numbers sit today and then revisit the conversation as we start to see rates shift.
So, if I'm starting the process, how do I even figure out what type of a mortgage product or a term is going to be right for me? You talked a lot about, understanding what you're willing to carry, what it's so personal to our individual plans. But how do I even determine that in the first place?
And that's a conversation that we have as we're going through the pre-approval process. It's important to understand amortization. What is your monthly sort of comfort level with affordability? Can we look at extending that amortization? We're going to look at term. What is that sort of assessment of matching sort of the mortgage to match your sort of life goals? Is this a property you intend on being in for 2, 3, 4, or potentially 5 years? So these are conversations that take place, but we're also matching these conversations and goals to what we're seeing in the rate environment. Based on what we're seeing today, it comes down to risk tolerance as well with clients. We're looking at the shorter term fix for those clients that want sleep assurance. They want to sleep well at night, knowing what they're committed to on a monthly basis. And then we're also looking at the potential of a variable rate with rates potentially coming down and clients being able to take advantage of that anticipated rate environment by engaging in a potential sort of adjustable rate for the short term.
What is your perspective on the recent announcement regarding since you did talk about terms, about the new 30-year mortgage that was just announced?
I think this is going to be very beneficial to first-time home buyers. First-time home buyers are facing challenges in entering the market, and any sort of additional sort of space or opportunity to be able to leverage a lower payment is definitely going to be helpful. And what we've seen on the news and in the media is this 30-year amortization with insured mortgages is going to be extremely helpful to first-time home buyers. But there are some parameters that clients need to be aware of. One, an insured purchase is a purchase up to $1 million. So this is only applicable to properties that fall below that $1 million threshold. So 99999. It's also important to note that the down payment amount is less than 20% for an insured purchase. And this product, the 30-year amortization, will only be applicable to properties that are new constructions or new builds.
I think that's the piece that a lot of consumers are not realizing, that because it was stipulated in the announcement, but it was buried a little bit. So it's actually, you can't go buy a condo that's 3 years old. You have to buy something that's brand new, pre-construction.
And what I've personally sort of experienced from the market as well is that we've seen a little bit of a correction in the resale market, but not necessarily when it comes to pre-construction. So again, it's about crunching those numbers and really understanding sort of the benefit of these programs and see if they match your goals and needs.
Right. Well, that's really good feedback. So, question for you, if my mortgage was coming up for renewal in the next 6 months or so, when would be the ideal timeline to start preparing to get everything together and what that would look like?
Great question. We have a number of households, with these anticipated renewal rates that are currently locked in on record low interest rates. They're going to see a change in their monthly shelter expenses. My advice to any household that is going to be working on a renewal in 2024 is ensure that they're speaking to an advisor or a strategic advisor, a broker, or their banker to get clarity on what those payments are going to look like on the renewal. So start early, start as early as possible. Ensure that you have clarity on what that's going to look like so you can make some life decisions. At least 4 months prior to your renewal date, you want to have a rate locked in. You want to ensure that your qualification is in line, that you know what your options are. For example, if you're coming up for renewal and your rate is going to change and you are sort of having that foresight of that higher payment, maybe being a little bit uncomfortable, connect with a mortgage broker, connect with a specialist, see if there's an opportunity to maybe extend that amortization. There are strategies in place that where we can employ these strategies in advance to kind of give you your options on the upfront so you can take that away and start planning for that date.
So you said 4 months, you should already have your rate locked in. So that means truly it is about 6 months because you need a couple of months to get everything organized and then have that already secured by the 4 month mark so that if anything changes, you're ready to adjust accordingly.
For sure. We're connecting with our clients 4 months prior to a renewal date, ensure that we're going through our strategies, ensuring that we're comfortable with the client's sort of affordability. And then 30 days before, we're committing with the lender. At that point, we've taken advantage of shopping the lowest rate on market and working with the client to kind of bring that to the renewal date successfully and without any stress.
What do I need to have ready for a mortgage pre-approval? Or sorry, not for a mortgage pre-approval. What do I need to have ready for a renewal?
And that's a great question because the process of organizing docs, we're all busy in our day to day. That
Ah,
task can seem a little overwhelming, but it's actually a really simple process. We've all recently, we're all preparing to do our taxes. So your T4 for 2023, if you're salaried or hourly, previous year's T4, and if you're not sure where you can relocate that when you are engaging in conversations with your accountants, you can make sort of a request for that document. We're also going to want to see a property tax bill and your current mortgage statement. And that usually is sufficient to kind of get that process rolling for you.
I love that. Okay. Last question for you. So the kind of back to what we were just chatting about first time home buyers. The federal government just announced their new incentive for first time buyers only with the increase in their RSP contribution. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so this is the second time we've seen a modification to the RSP homebuyer plan. That sort of withdrawal limit has gone from $35,000 to $60,000. So
Wow.
that allows you to tap into your RSPs for $60,000 if they are available to you. And that can be used towards renovations, that can be used towards a down payment, that can be used towards closing costs on a new purchase. The repayment sort of obligations have also been modified. Typically, you would have to begin that repayment within 2 years. That's now been extended to 5 years. So that is a very beneficial sort of, option for first-time home buyers that are looking to opt into sort of the first-time home buyer plan, but having that additional time to focus on the repayment. And anyone that did use the program back to January 1st of 2022 has also been given that privilege of extending that repayment to 5 years.
Okay, interesting. Good to know.
I wanted to also highlight the definition of a first-time home buyer. A first-time home buyer under this program is an individual that has never purchased a home, so a typical first-time home buyer, as we'd assume. But two, it's also an individual that may have owned property, but there has been a period of 5 years where they have not owned property. So it's a reset. So if you've owned property in the past, but for a period of 5 years you have not, you reset as a first-time home buyer.
Wow, that's really fascinating information and valuable for a lot of potential future homeowners. So, and did I read that? I think if I understand it correctly, you can double the contribution if it's two first-time buyers buying together. Okay.
Absolutely. So 60 and 60 for a total combined amount of 120,000. So that could be a significant down payment.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's really good to know. Up to $1 million, you said.
Correct. Correct. No, that's not
Oh no,
home buyers.
that's just for the 30-year amortization.
Correct,
Okay.
correct. So the RSP homebuyer plan is applicable to insured and uninsured purchases. So
Okay.
as long as you're a first-time home buyer, so if you are looking to hit that 20% mark, that 60 and 60 can be very helpful in being able to attain that certain
Absolutely.
goal.
Absolutely. Okay, that's awesome. Rakhee, thank you so much for joining us. If I wanted to reach out to you because I'm interested in mortgage products or your services, how would I get a hold of you?
We're happy to share our contact information, but a great way to connect with us is on social as well. I'm happy to kind of ensure that we're also including our social media handle at Mortgage Savvy. Our mandate is really to educate, provide value, and ensure that clients feel that they're empowered with having the information to make, the right financial decision when it comes to securing mortgage.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.